What's up, everybody? It's Phil and Jessie.
Welcome to our show, Making Our Roots.
Today we're going to be focused on some of the off-season planning that goes into a home garden, some of the pre-work that you can do to help yourself get started before your seeds get in the ground. And like always, Jessie's going to have something planned in the kitchen for us.
I do, and because nothing's coming out of the garden quite yet, we're going to use one of my favorite little veggies from last year's harvest and pair it with local chicken.
What is your favorite little veggie?
Sweet peas.
Oh, sweet peas.
Yep, I'm making a smashed sweet peas with roasted chicken.
So before we get anything into the ground, we should probably know what we're going to be eating this summer. Remember that your garden should reflect the values and interests of you, the grower. For example, my wife is Italian, so we always have basil, peppers, tomatoes growing somewhere in our garden. And myself, I like to challenge myself each year to grow something and taste something that I never have before. So get creative. Here are 4 things that I want you to think about when you're planning your garden. Number 1, diet. What do you like to eat? What does your family like to eat? And is that healthy for you? Number 2, climate. Where are you from? What grows well in your area? Number 3 is spacing. Spacing and abundance kind of goes hand in hand. You're gonna wanna know how far away each plant needs to be spaced so that they're not competing with each other and therefore not getting enough nutrients. Number 4 is timing. When do we seed? When do we cultivate? When does it come time to harvest? These are all things that if you know, you'll be able to maximize the output of your own home garden. Now, I don't expect everybody to know this information, especially if you're a first-time grower, but you can always refer back to your seed packet or your seed catalog because they'll do a good job of telling you exactly what you need to know. This spinach right here, spinach is a cold season crop. Because it's hardy, it can survive some of these colder weeks. So after that last frost, you can start getting your spinach into the ground. It's one of the first crops that we plant and one of the first crops that we were able to harvest and then enjoy in a meal when we got to Alaska. Okay. So we have our raised bed full of soil. Jessie and I are using this organic blend because we know that we're gonna be eating these vegetables and that's what we prefer to put into our bodies. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna dedicate this back quarter here to direct seeding. There are 2 different types of seeding you can do. You can start your seeds in trays and then transplant them later, like Jessie will go over and we'll do in this top part of the garden. Or you can direct seed, which is what we're gonna do in this back half. And we're gonna start with 2 early season crops. We're gonna start with our spinach, which my grandfather would be very proud of me for planting in my garden. And the seed packet says to do about 2 to 3 inches away on the spinach. And then we're also gonna be putting carrots in, which referred to the back of the packet, also say about 2 to 3 inches apart. So we're gonna go ahead and start by making our furrows. And we're gonna remember spacing with these plants. We're gonna keep them about 4 inches apart. We're gonna make shallow furrows. The seeds, you don't want them to be too deep. Keep them about 4 inches apart. We're gonna go ahead and just make 2 rows for the spinach and 1 for the carrots. Start with the carrots in this back right here. They're a little bit bigger of a seed than the spinach, you'll notice, but you're gonna keep them, you know, get a couple in your hand, 2 to 3 inches away. And if you feel like you're dropping 2 at a time, 3 at a time, don't worry. You can always thin out the carrots later when you start seeing them come up out of the ground a little bit. So we've got our carrots here, and I'm gonna do 1 or 2 more for good luck. And now our spinach. Spinach is a little tiny of a seed, so be careful when you're spreading it out. You can always thin it out. You can have too many. You don't want to plant too little. It is that simple. And then once we have them in, we don't want to add too much more soil on top of our garden, so we're just going to go ahead and cover these in. When you have your seeds covered and into the ground, you're going to want to water them evenly and often in the beginning. And since we don't know where they are or which was which, we're going to make sure that we label it. We got our carrots in the back, we got our spinach up in the front, and that way we know when we're cultivating, if we start seeing a carrot and it's not a weed, we can at least identify what we got there.
Good job, babe.
Well, thank you.
Did you only plant 1 row of carrots?
Yeah, I mean, but these are gonna be huge carrots.
Yeah, that's what they all say. Today I'll be showing you how to start seeds using a seed starter tray. For this, you'll need your soil, your tray, and your seeds. I'm gonna be seeding jalapenos today. First step, 1 seed per unit. We're gonna place the seed directly in the center of each soil pod. And remember, they don't need to be planted very deeply. Next, We're gonna cover up that seed with a little bit of soil, and then when you're done, make sure to water thoroughly. After you have your seeds planted and you water, this nifty lid creates a greenhouse effect over your seeds. You can place your whole tray at a window or under a grow light. Once your seeds have germinated, they'll look something like this, and that's when you're ready to transplant them into the garden. Make sure you know what your spacing is supposed to look like before transplanting, because some plants get really big and they'll need the space to grow. For instance, peppers become a pretty big plant and they're gonna need the space in the garden to grow and produce all of that fruit. For transplanting, it's as simple as using a couple fingers, creating a little divot into the ground, and then placing your pod. You can use your fingers to kind of hug that pod again and then press down a little bit on the transplant. No need to press any further down into the soil than just a couple taps. All right, once you've got your transplants in the ground, remember to water them thoroughly so that the roots become acclimated to the soil. Also, don't forget to label your row. I'm so excited for these jalapenos this season. I love spice, and I think they're gonna make a great addition to Phil's fajitas. So that's transplanting and seeding directly into a tray. It's as easy as that.
Working with these greenhouses reminds me a lot of the time Jessie and I spent in Alaska. We had 4 greenhouses on the property we worked on. They were 16 feet tall and 75 feet. One of them was Jessie's tomato tunnel, which she was up at the peak this season yielding 100 pounds of tomatoes. We might not get the same quantity out of our home greenhouse, but we can get the same quality. The greenhouse is gonna allow you to control temperature at the beginning of the season, towards the end of the season when you wanna keep it a little warmer. It also is gonna give you a natural pest protector. We have birds here in the city that kind of come down on our garden, so this always helps keep them out. So Jessie and I were really excited to find a full-size greenhouse at our local Ace Hardware. If you can afford the space to have something like this, I highly recommend it. It gives you plenty of space for you to start your seeds, and you can even continue growing in it throughout the entire season.
Today I'll be making a delicious lemon and thyme roasted chicken. We are always eating with ingredients used from our garden. We have the thyme that was just harvested and our sweet peas, which were harvested last year and frozen to use in our smashed peas. The ingredients I'll be using for this recipe are our skin-on, bone-in chicken breasts, fresh onion, garlic, thyme, and lemon, a white wine used for cooking. I'll be using a Pinot Grigio, salt, pepper, and olive oil. In this recipe, the lemon and thyme add so much flavor. A really important step is patting the skin dry on your chicken breast. A little bit more thyme. And then we're finishing it off with white wine at the base of the chicken. The chicken was in the oven for 45 minutes and I finished it off with some fresh lemon juice. All right, let's eat.
So today is a special day. We have our garden planned, we have our seeds in the ground, which means our season is officially coming to a start.
Do you remember the peas in Alaska?
Of course I do.
We hope this episode inspired you. We can't wait to see you next time. Happy spring!
Happy spring to you.